This is PENSDOWN, where we sit with journalists and get to understand their journalism journey. This is the only platform solely dedicated to telling the behind-the-scenes stories of journalists, all that they went through in their line of duty. I have been joined today by a multiple award-winning journalist with a multimedia group. He currently heads the business desk at Love FM in Kumasi, which is a subsidiary of the multimedia group. His reporting interests cover agric, energy, environment, and SME. He is the reigning GJA Best Journalist in Agriculture Reporting. He's a product of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana, from where he got a bachelor's in publishing studies and a master's in energy and natural resources economics. He is a climate change campaigner and a green economy advocate. Prince Appiah is my guest today. You're welcome, my brother.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Right. Why didn't you choose any other thing but journalism?
I would say I didn't choose journalism. I think journalism chose me.
Oh, wow.
I always see this interesting story that I chanced on journalism. So I was lucky that it found me.
Okay.
And I've been in it for a while now. Okay. I was in KNUST doing my bachelor's. During my second year, a friend of mine, I always mention his name when I'm talking about my journalism journey. He's Benjamin Mensah. He's a classmate from St. Paul Methodist School from my primary school in Tema. So he had the opportunity to go on to Focus FM to work
on campus
as part-time.
Yeah.
And we've been friends from primary school, so he knows what I can do. We always book around. We do a lot of comedy stuff back in primary school.
Okay.
And so he had opportunity to do that for a while, and then he called me in that, Prince, this is what is happening. We can get some little money. We are all not coming from so much of
great backgrounds.
Yeah. So we're trying to find our feet on campus, so he can get some, little extra money on the side from this. So you can come in. I was speaking to the programs manager. So I went, I met him, Quaceman, and then he asked me what I could do. I showed him. It was Campus Fella. And on Campus Fella, talk about stuff on campus, what students are doing, some of the weird things that are happening on campus. It's like, sniffing around and getting all the juice of information around and telling the student sometimes in a comical manner.
Okay.
So I joined in, and then I did what I could do. The programs manager was happy about it. Then I started. So I had to, because I'm a very shy person, I had to disguise myself during that particular program. And I did that from secondary school, second year to final year. But most of my classmates, majority of them, it was only those in my circle that knew it was me. I had to disguise myself, and I did it for a while, and it was beautiful. And that, I developed that interest in radio. So I was like, oh, really? There's something interesting that I can look at maybe as an option, basically.
That means with that disguise, it is possible there were even times you bumped into a group talking about how exciting the program is. You listen in and walk away.
Yeah, always in class. So in class, people talk about, there's this new guy on Campus Fella. He's really funny. He talks about stuff like that, and we all laugh over it. But a lot of people didn't know it was only my,
Were you using a pen name on air then?
Yes, I was using a pen name. And I was mimicking someone, our brothers from the north.
Oh, okay.
So I was mimicking their dialect, and then I was using a pen name as well. So you cannot tell it was me. So I did that for a while. I think on during my third year, in school. It was compulsory that we find an institution and do a industrial attachment as a publishing student. So myself, two other colleagues, James Hermans, and then someone we call him DJ Couscous. So the three of us said we all had experienced something around radio. So we said we wanted to do a internship at a radio station, but our department said no, it is not possible, and it is not allowed. And that is not possible. You can't do your internship at a radio station. You must go to a printing home.
Yes, exactly.
Or a publishing house, you know, do that. So there was this back and forth, and we took a letter, went to Love FM, spoke to the receptionist that we wanted to meet the HR. Initially, we didn't get through. We went there, we were persistent like 3 times. We had opportunity to meet the HR. We spoke to the HR, and interestingly and coincidentally, the HR was an old student, an alumni of the publishing studies department.
Really?
Yes. So we spoke to her. She loved about it. She asked us why we wanted to do our internship there, because she knew that as part of the requirements that is not possible. So we tried to convince her, and she loved about it, and she gave us the opportunity to do our internship at Love FM as industrial attachment. And after that period, managers, our editors, liked and loved our input, our energy, because we had not done proper journalism. So it was just youthful exuberance. We just loved our energy and our willingness to learn on the job. And then they asked us to come back during the long vacation. And then we did that. We stayed on campus, we did that, and we continued, and the rest is history.
How long has this been since you started your journey with Love FM? I'm sure you've been there all through.
Yes, all through. I started right from, so this story is 2013.
Okay.
So officially, I started working with the multimedia in 2014.
Okay.
Yes, 2014, November 2014, and that's when I started officially. Okay. Working with Love FM, and since then I've been with Love FM for all these years. Yeah.
Environment is one of the areas of interest as far as reporting is concerned. Have you had any reporting history or opportunity on mining or galamsey or any of those related issues?
Yes, I've done a couple of work in that area myself. And a very good friend, Asenso Mensa, we've done a lot of work in the Manso area, and in Obuasi as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have pretty much some experience with the galamsey activities. Basically, one of the stories I really could remember is a story about how the economy of a community around the Manso area had shut down completely when the ban on galamsey was announced. And interestingly, it had affected every sphere of the local economy there. Financial institutions had to close because—
You mean in such a village there were financial institutions?
Yes.
Because of galamsey.
Exactly. The microfinance institutions there had closed down. There was GN Bank there. It had to close down because the majority of the customers or clients that were holding the business were the illegal miners, the galamseyers, I should say. And they were putting in so much money that was sustaining these businesses. And there were others, the market women, the selling food, water companies, those transporting water to the place and all that. All those institutions relying on them, and all the economy completely shut. It was a ghost town. And that
Talking
was a
about water,
yeah, yeah.
now, Galamsey is notorious for polluting. In fact, even the mining, which is backed by law, has notoriety for polluting the water sources of communities where they are resident. I am curious, you have had some sort of an eyewitness view of how some of these activities unfold. After they pollute the water, what do they drink? What do they use in their daily activities?
Hmm. Yeah, that is a multi-million question. What we've observed and from personal observation over time is most of these communities rely on these water companies.
Oh,
I tell you.
bottled water,
So
sachet water.
sachet water, most of it, sachet water. There are other communities that have some source of drinking water, around that are not polluted.
Okay.
So they rely on that as well as a source of drinking water. And, and either of them very expensive. So yeah, these communities really struggle, but they look at, I think they normally weigh the options available, whether to go in for the mining and get money that we can use to buy the water, or or you just
to keep their water clean and then stay
keep the
hungry.
water clean and stay hungry, and live like paupers basically. And they weigh the options, and perhaps they think that it is better they go in for that, because most of them are living luxurious life there. They have big houses, big trucks they are using. They can afford anything. Their children are going to school, and those who want to engage in the galamsey, they get them in.
I
They
am
have the
told that
how
even
to
in the
farm and all that.
thickest of hamlets, where Galamsey goes on, there is that kind of, if I may use this language, East Legon style of living there, irrespective of the location. Is that the case?
Irrespective of the location. I don't know how the East Legon, lifestyle is, but seriously, I tell you, they live, good. They live good. They have beautiful houses in there. They have beautiful cars. Their families have the capital to do the businesses they want to do, especially those who are trading. And they also mine, and they are okay. So during that time, they were living really good until the ban came and everything just went, ground zero. Yeah.
These almost 10 years you've been in the trenches, reporting and working as a journalist, what stands out or stand out as the most challenging assignment or set of assignments?
I would choose my reporting in the agric space.
Okay.
Because yes, I have done that, the greater part of my 10 years. And that has really given me a lot of opportunities as well. Traveled around and all that. My first experience would be traveling to Burkina Faso to do the very popular Desert Tomatoes documentary. Got me my second international award, basically. So I traveled to Burkina Faso with the Association of Tomato Traders and Transporters. Okay. Initially, it was not for us to go to Burkina Faso. So myself and my colleague Asenso Mensah, our job was to understand why the tomato traders, transporters were going to Burkina Faso to bring in tomatoes. So there was an engagement that we were supposed to go there, to somewhere in the north to cover. So we left with them. We went there to cover the assignment. Then after covering assignments, we sat and we felt that no, just reporting on what this group of people are saying wouldn't make any impact. So what do? We need to dig and understand what really is the fundamental problem. Why they keep going to Burkina Faso? What really is in Burkina Faso that is making their planting season and their tomatoes better than ours? So we had to engage the Tomato Association. We told them that I think we have to go to Burkina Faso. And they said, yes, the next day they are going to Burkina. If you want to join them, fine. So we hadn't prepared. So we joined them. And then we went to Burkina Faso. We're supposed to spend, I think, 2 days or a day. We ended up spending close to, I think, 6 days. So we came back on a sixth day. So we spent 6 days. We went to some of the farms. We went to see their dams. We understood how things, were done. And it was pretty much revealing to understand what really was happening on the ground, that they had a lot of irrigation facilities that could enable them farm all year round. They had investment in their, tomato, their farmers basically to produce these tomatoes, because they had realized that Ghana was coming in so hard, and so they could make so much money from us. Other neighboring countries were also coming to Burkina to get their tomatoes, so they are investing so much in it. And so we got that information, which was very revealing. We got opportunity to speak to their transport leaders, like their ministers, basically to understand how they did their stuff, and it was very revealing. But the interesting thing that made it so challenging was the fact that we didn't understand the language. They were speaking
French,
Mosi and French, and that was pretty much understand. I remember my colleague Asensuko, was better at, he is better at French than me. We will try and remember the primary and junior high school French that we had learned. I put it together, and then we tried to communicate, and it was really funny, but interesting, and a lesson that had been with me since then was that we have to learn to speak, at least understand the basics of those who are living around us, because we are surrounded by francophone countries, and we struggle to speak French when we get there, and it was really embarrassing, but interesting, a lesson we had to pick from that particular experience. But the story came out beautiful. We came back, went to Denmark, went to Akumadan, spoke to some of the researchers, Ghanaian researchers, vegetable research from crop research, to understand what their research, areas were, why they were not researching in their tomatoes, why we don't have the right varieties that we can farm, so we can stop going to Burkina, what is happening with our lands, whether there are problems with our land. So we did an extensive report, and it was beautiful. It came out well. Afterwards, the Agric Ministry, responded, came to engage the farmers, the association, sought to understand what the way forward is. They charged some scientists, researchers to come up with better varieties so that they can, help address this problem. Then after, I think it was during the period that the Planting for Food and Jobs came. Yes, and all came in to help the situation. But as I speak to you, there is a committee sort of between Ghana and yes, I say a memorandum of understanding, so between Ghana and Burkina Faso, that is currently still trying to address the challenges on the road. Continuously, we are reducing the number of, the frequency of Ghanaians going to Burkina Faso to bring tomatoes. And that is, a step in the right direction. It's being reduced, and we are trying to address some of the challenges that women also go through. Earlier when they go through, they tend to be attacked. Some are beating, their monies are extorted, all those stuff, and all those things are being addressed. And going to Burkina is better off now. Women are also reducing the frequency, which means that we are relying more on our local tomatoes. And so it's pretty much, but the conversation is still ongoing. There is a platform now that they keep talking about, giving update on what is happening on the road and what is done and all that. So it's been pretty much cool. That is what I'll say really have stand out for my reporting. That was the first thing that really got me. And the second one will be traveling to Idra. We went there to cover maize. It was time for maize, a story on maize basically. But we went there, we realized that the road leading to the maize farms had been cut. It had rained. The roads were terrible, unmotorable, and it had cut off the farms from the market. So the farmers were unable to go to their farms and bring the harvested corn to the market. And they were destroying away on the farms, and it was terrible and really sad. And that particular experience always, get to me. The farmers, we saw them using chunks of the, how do you call it, coconut tree. They've cut the trunks and they've used that to, fill the waterway, trying to create a path where they can get a means of transport to go through that waterlogged area to get the crops on into the market, and it was it was something that was not practicable. No, it couldn't be
a solution.
It couldn't be a solution, but they were trying to find a solution and it was not helping. But that's the only option available, and was really sad, basically to try and get their goods to them, because they had invested so much in that, and the rains had not stopped, and they really
and these are highly perishable stuff.
Yes, and these are poor farmers who that's the only thing they depend on, and so those things are really worrying. These are stories that really come to mind. But the recent one is my story on soya bean, traveling around to understand why the soya bean industry is the way it is now. A lot of foreigners were in the country exporting the soya out of the country, whilst the local industry, soya industry, poultry industry, factories were collapsing, were closing down, shutting down. The poultry farmers were not getting the soya to add to their feed for their birds. And then the poultry industry, a lot of poultry farmers had to sell their birds and all that. And so it was a terrible situation. So I had to travel around the country to, some of the farms up north to understand what really is happening. We had opportunity to, find out that, speak to some of the middlemen, those who are really selling to the foreigners, helping the foreigners get it from the farm gate, and why the prices were going up and all that. Was very revealing and very challenging. And I think after that report, the documentary, Broken Chain, the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ministry of Agriculture, issued a ban, 6 months ban, which will end in September, 6 months ban on exportation. And they've started, engaging the farmers and, the poultry farmers as well to find a lasting solution to this exodus of, soya out of the country. So this will be my highlights, basically.
The field of journalism, so many qualified professionals with a lot of experience are leaving. I'm sure you came to meet some, they've left. Some came to meet you, they've left. And some are still leaving. We have a few of them moving into corporate communications. Others are also finding themselves into entirely different fields. What is happening? What is causing all this attrition in the field?
Yes, a lot of the time we are told to follow our passion, and journalism thrives on passion. If you have the passion for it, you go every extent to get a story and do a good job.
Mm.
But in as much as you follow your passion, I think this profession, just like every profession, it requires or comes with financial compensation.
Yeah.
But I would say that journalists in Ghana are the least paid professionals around. And at every point in time, someone will be reporting for many years and would have nothing to show for. And so the next available space or opportunity to get, quote and unquote, a greener pasture or a space where it will be more comfortable, will be working, less of a time by making good money compared to the kind of energy and efforts that he would put in as a journalist. He would want to go there because he might have done the journalism thing for maybe more than 5 years. And he's not doing anything, in terms of financially, you could be popular. There are a lot of people who are popular out there, but
broke.
are earning so less that, the right way, they are broke. And it comes with a lot of demands. Your family members see you on TV, on radio, hear you, and they think you are well to do. And they all want to come to you for help, but you don't have it. And so most of our colleagues, when they get these opportunities which pay better, they would definitely hang on that and fly. And that is the reason. And I know that for our profession, you almost always have to make sure your work is done before you can leave.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is into the night, and that continues almost all the time. That's your routine. You go to.
Sometimes you spend nights on the field in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, you come back, you have to finish your story. Your editors are waiting for you. Have to meet the deadlines, and it always eats into the night. Sometimes it affects your relationships, it affects your circles, affects everything. And because a lot of people don't want to continue enduring that, the best thing they can do, yes, I have the passion for journalism, but what else can I do? I've done some amount of years. Then they move on to the corporate institutions, get some good money, make family, get some house, able to build, get some, better living for the family, and it goes. So basically, I think the remuneration, the salary, financial compensation is a major factor. If not, I think journalism is a beautiful profession that one can, keep in it for how long? Until you drop dead. It's a beautiful profession. It keeps you around. It helps you travel. You see places. You meet people, very prominent people, popular people ordinarily you cannot get close to. Yes. You meet the president. You meet CEOs of big institutions, companies. You get to interview them. Sit on the same flight, them same, space. You discuss issues. Ask them pertinent questions, and there are rare opportunities not everybody would have. And so I think journalism is a beautiful profession, but it's the remuneration. If employers could look at that and work on it. And interestingly, we always are in the stead of others. We talk for people. We talk for the TUC. We talk for teachers, we talk for nurses about their, salaries to be increased, your conditions of services. We talk for UTAG. We do a lot of reports for them, but who reports on us? Who talks for us? And as a result, a lot of people, the attrition will continue. I don't think it will stop anytime soon. It will continue. But not to say, moving from one profession to the other, it's bad, because, even in the, telecom industry, a lot of people move around, marketing, move around and all that. But for the journalism profession, I tell you, I think from my side, that's how I see it. It's it's the money factor, because
Mm.
if you are the most popular person around and you don't have anything to show for.
Mm. So let me put you on the spot. How long are you going to go before you drop the mic or you walk away from the camera?
I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes it feels when you put out, when you do a lot of work, put in a lot of work and produce a story, and you don't get or you don't see the necessary impact you had anticipated, it becomes very frustrating. And sometimes you want to call it quit. Sometimes, but I think it is best that you plan on your exit and you understand when it is best to go out. I'm still in the process. I don't know when I will leave. I don't know. But definitely there'll be a time I would have to leave for others to continue. And there are a lot of people out there who are brilliant journalists and who needs the opportunity to show their talent and help nation Ghana. Yeah.
You learned journalism by doing without prior training formally. How easy or difficult was it for you to settle in? I know there was that enthusiasm and all that. Those are not sharpened edges. They need a lot of trimming so you don't go haywire. How easy was it or difficult was it to settle in and say, okay, now I can do this with little or no supervision?
Okay, so my initial stages, I struggled because we're just doing, it was just talking. We did comedy stuff on radio, and then we started writing. And so it was really, and I could write just a news report. I could write like a full page of an A4 sheet, and the editing is always interesting. And before the editing is done, I have like three sentences in a queue. And in the initial stages, it was really frustrating. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Wow, why? But gradually I got help. Learning on the job, I got help from, as I mentioned, Said Aileen Yakub of blessed memory, Kwamno Usup Amprechum, and Kofi Dudonfe. I think they practically taught me how to, write, what to do when I have a story, going on assignment, what to do to get the stories from whoever I'm going to interview or the event I'm attending, how to put them together and all that. And so they helped me on the job really, really, really much. And sometimes you put out a story and the criticisms from the newsroom alone, would shape in your story. And the next time you will not make those mistakes, like from likes of Ohemiteria, Elton Brobe, Nase Ampufuje, Erastus Sasaridonko and co. Things they would say would, force you not to make those mistakes again. And so the next time you make sure that you are coming out with a very good story. And those things over time had shaping me. But I should add that sometimes you have to take things into your own hands, because I had to go online and do some online courses on how to write, how to write on the web. I did online courses from Coursera, and I had to do one on introduction to journalism on Coursera, understand how news reporting is, what is news and all those things. So I took things into my own hands, learned online as well. After work, I would stay, do the courses, do my assignments and leave the office around 9. And I did that over time, and, attending workshops that, I got, I got handed to by Kofi Donfe and co. They asked me to attend these workshops and training workshops, and I'll be attending, understanding how things are done. And so on the job, I got the support from all these people. And for multimedia, there are times that we management also try to help, but basically help new journalists that are coming up with the necessary tools. So we had training from Deutsche Welle. There was a partnership with Deutsche Welle. So I attended, a number of them as well. And, I learned, the radio and then the TV reporting as well from these trainings from Deutsche Welle, Ketsi, multimedia as well. And then over time, I got better at it. But, it's about you keep practicing and, the quest to get better. If not, you might get better. Yeah.
That's journalism pay. That's a pay. This profession.
Journalism. I think both, it pays, and on the other hand, you say it doesn't pay as much as you would expect it, because for me, I would say it pays because I've traveled quite a bit, and all my travels have been Ketsi journalism.
Okay.
That's all I've known. That's all I've done all my life, and I've traveled around all because I'm a journalist, and all because of journalism. And I know these are rare opportunities that not everybody gets to travel to other parts of the world to cover events, to part of global discussions and all that. And so for that, I think it really pays, gives you that opportunity, and those kind of compensation, not tangible, not in monetary form, but are very, very important, because they give you the exposure and forms, helps, forms the way you think, in a global sense, for you to be part and compete in the new trends of things. And so I think in that sense, it really helps, it really pays. But on the other hand, I said earlier, our remunerations and our salaries are not so good, and so it really compels most of our colleagues to do stuff that they are not supposed to do unethically and not unprofessionally. And so on that stretch, I see it doesn't pay, but on the other hand, it does as well. And so if you get opportunity, if you are lucky to be on the first one that I said, you are lucky. You pick that compensation and you run with it. Take advantage of those opportunities that comes your way during these travels and these people you meet, and then you get contacts that would sometimes ask you to do documentaries for them that will pay you better.
Okay.
Yes, ask you to become a media trainer for certain events that would pay you good. Yes, ask you to consult for certain institutions that will also pay you good. So these things are avenues that bring in some revenue that will make you good. But when it comes to your basic salary, it doesn't really pay. If you look at that, there's nothing to write home about, basically.
There are suggestions on PENSDOWN here that journalists should be licensed. What's your take?
I think journalism is arts. And when it comes to things with the arts, it's difficult to, put, try to put us in a box, because limits, creativity and, yes, it closes the span of, the how people think. It's so I think licensing maybe, in a certain way would do, because of the proliferation of a lot of media. I think in the in the aspect of the training of journalists, that we could, regulate that properly so that we can churn out, good journalists into the system. I think the proliferation of media houses, media schools, mushroom ones, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, those ones are perhaps, affecting the quality of journalism we have now. And so perhaps the call for licensing. But I think that if these, media institutions, our media commission or the regulators can be very strict on how, journalists are trained and the number of years or maybe months that a journalist must undergo training to become a journalist. Those things can be regulated, and if that is regulated and implemented properly, I think that would be better. And so that is how I'll look at it, but not licensing basically. Because of course, we've been put together, journalists, bloggers, media persons, personalities, and panelists of radio programs and all that. We've all been put together and being described as journalists, and sometimes most of these people have no training properly, and have not undergone any professional education, and will act in a certain manner, and as a result of that would bring a lot of quote disgrace to the profession and all that. So
social media, how do you position it? Is it a benefit to journalism, or it is challenging journalism?
Both ways. It is really challenging journalism, because before you hear a news break, it's already on social media. Before you would wait for a radio station or a TV station to break the news. You can hear it in your neighborhood, but sometimes you would wait for the radio stations because you believe they will do, they'll go extra to speak to the right people to get the right information and then put it out there. But now, before you say Jack, the information is already on social media, whether with the right details or not. It's already on social media and everyone is consuming it. And so it is challenging journalism, because now it is forcing or compelling us to do the extra, because what ordinarily you would get on the ground, it's already on social media. So if you're a media house and you're going to report on that, then you need to work extra and bring extra information, and that will make you stand out. If you are not doing that, then you are acting like
a blogger,
or those
a
on
citizen journalist.
Yes, those on social media, which it's not good. But I think social media is really a good tool, because most of us, we get contacts and we get links to do certain works and attend certain events and programs through social media, because we share our stories on social media, and people from far away, other parts of the world, get to see those stories, and they link up, and and get to give you contracts and other events to cover and all that. So social media is good. It puts your work out there, and it's the best way to advertise yourself, and it's the best way to showcase your CV. Social media is really, really good. At the same time, it's challenging our work to get to a time, if you are not really going the extra mile, nobody will listen to you, because everything you say is already on social media. So
just as you said, it looks like now the traditional media has lost the monopoly over breaking news.
Breaking news, yes.
For instance, let me give you a typical scenario. Let's say TV3. Something there, there is a bus stop in front of TV3. something happens at the bus stop in front of TV3. From the newsroom to the bus stop is about 2 minutes walk.
Yeah.
But somebody with a cell phone right at the bus stop will break the news before they gather their cameras and sound and other things and rush to the place.
And rush to the place.
Yes, yes. So it looks like, as for breaking news, social media has taken it.
Yeah.
How we add more flesh to what has already broken is what will make the trained journalists relevant in these days.
Exactly. So now, there's a lot of question on our skills, to exhibit the best of our skills out there, show that you are really a journalist, because social media is doing what you would have done easily.
What's your take on the increasing political ownership of the media? Now, so many politicians are setting up media houses. We are a democracy we have a democracy we are trying to nurture. Is there a reason for concern with this kind of trend?
Yes. There's a cause for concern. But we are in a space where we keep learning from others. We try to learn from the Western world, and most of these media houses in some of these Western world are political. And so when it comes to that aspect of it, I think it is not so much of a problem, but the ownership and the interference with the content that they produce and the direction that they go. It's sometimes what is worrying, because I know that for our profession, there's a certain level of censorship that must, be applied. But when there's a radio station or a media organization that's owned by a political party, a political person, exposed person who is affiliated to political party A, and would always want you to, speak for political party A, that is not a problem. But when it tends to misinform the public, because misinformation is really dangerous.
Yeah, sure.
When it tends to misinform the public continuously, and that becomes a challenge. And it's something that I think can be looked at, but it is really difficult to, I don't know how it can be controlled, but I don't really see a problem with that. But I think if it goes overboard and the intentions and the information being churned out continuously misinform the public, then it must be looked at. Yes.
How, if we are to turn back the hands of time, let's say some 12 or 15 years, are you still going to find yourself in the same profession?
I think everything happens for a reason. Everything that has happened in my life, I believe they are supposed to happen for a reason, either to teach me a lesson, to help me become a better person, help me improve people's lives, touch people in a certain way, or maybe learn from my mistakes.
That's right.
And so I think I will do it again. I will still get myself into journalism, because the circle of friends I had 15 years ago are the people that have, helped mold my life to what I have become. I don't know what would happen if I changed the circle of friends, because if I'm to 15 years back, still in the same circle of friends, I'll still end up here. If I change my circle of friends 15 years back, I don't know where I would end up. Perhaps I could end up in a bad company, and be doing some social vice somewhere, somehow. I don't know, but I'm always appreciative of the circle of friends that I had back then, and the friends that I've had, colleagues, the people that I've worked with till now, and the profession that I'm in. I've loved it. I've learned so much from a lot of people. I keep learning from them. Met so much beautiful souls who have taught me so much, in life. A lot of moral lessons. The ups and downs all through this journey, and it's been beautiful. They're traveling around, seeing places, sleeping on tables, sleeping on the floor, going 3 days without bathing, all because of get some stories, and being chased, hiding, in places that you cannot see, engaging yourself with certain, there are things that have happened that, now you look back and you say there are experiences that, are, have molded you to become who you are, and you wouldn't trade them for anything at all. Yeah. Well, let me say something. I remember the first documentary I did, a radio documentary on homosexuals.
Okay.
In Ghana. It was crazy. The things that I have to go through myself and a colleague, George Navo. We have to go through, having to interview some of our, sources at midnight, 1 a.m. in the middle of Usu. You
could have been beaten.
Yes, anything could have happened to us. And we had to enter a lot of casinos, with all the cigarettes, with all the gambling, with all the vices happening there.
And you have to suppress your cough, even if you had to cough, because you don't want them to know you are like some newcomer. You want to melt into their community.
All those experiences, now you sit back and you are like, wow, they are very important experiences that, that have molded you into what you are. You wouldn't trade that for anything. And those stories always turn out to be good stories that, push you out there. So I'll still be here, but maybe a better person.
Has your job ever put your life in danger before? Have you been threatened in the line of duty before?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did this story on HIV.
Okay.
A documentary on HIV, pills and herbs, on how, some spiritualists and, herbal manufacturers, saying that they had cure for HIV, and so they were advertising against the Public Health Act, which bars people from advertising diseases like HIV, diabetes, and all that. And so these people were advertising publicly on billboards and all that, and sick people were going to them, HIV patients were going to them to get concoctions. Some health deteriorates, some died in the process and all that. So I had to pick up this story and work on it. So I did that with my colleague Asensu Mensah and I Jima, and a host of others. We went around to produce this story. And after, there's one particular person, because some of the people that I engage, the sources that I interviewed, patients that are gone in for these concoctions, had died. After, I spoke to them before the story, the documentary was aired. They
had died. Oh,
yes. So it was really an emotional documentary, really sad one. And one of the herbalists that I have spoken to, who claimed he had cure for HIV, and was loud on the documentary, telling everybody he cure, blah blah. He had a big sign post, advertising and saying it, boldly rating that he can cure all those stuff. After the documentary, his his work, basically his herbal, company, basically collapsed because people stopped going there. That's what he claimed. And so he had to sue, he had to sue us that we had collapsed his business. Along the line, we had some, not life, not threats, basically, like I'll kill you or stuff like that. But, some of the messages, confronts you and the things, they say to you and all that. Sometimes you feel as though you are just doing your work, but you ask yourself, why would you go through something like that? And but all in all, it was good. I think that's one I would say was really difficult during that period because they really stretched us. That is good. They came to the office, they met me face to face. People were shouting in front of me, threatening me, and all those stuff. And I was younger then, and it was scary during that period. But by His grace, nothing happened, and we are still here.
Did you sleep at home that night, or you changed your sleeping place that night?
No, it didn't get to that level. I've been pretty much lucky when it comes to these things. I think that was the only experience that I had. But I went home, I slept well. God has been good to us. Yeah, that's how far I went, basically. Yeah.
Prince Appiah has been my guest, and this has been PENSDOWN. Here, the CCTV camera is turned on the journalist. So the reporter or presenter is rather the newsmaker on this platform. That is how we turn the tables to let you have a behind the scenes feel of some of the things journalists grapple with. He mentioned that there were times 3 days he went without bathing. But when you hear the story, he's unable to insert that because one of the principles of journalism is that the reporter is an observer, not a participant in the news gathering, processing, and reporting enterprise. That is why PENSDOWN is here. We tell it all once we open the curtains and show you what is happening behind the scenes. We'll be back next time. Thanks, my brother, for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Right. We'll be back next time with another edition of PENSDOWN. Be sure to subscribe so that next time when we are live, you yourself will be notified. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye.